Good morning, boys and girls.
Good morning, Mrs. Tina.
All right, today we're going to start our day with whole group reading, just as we do every day, and then we're going to go to our small groups, okay? So we're going to do comprehension first, and then we're going to do phonics. The goal of today's lesson was to focus on comprehension, questioning, and the reciprocal teaching model. So we've already done clarify. We're very good at that. We've already done predict. We're excellent at that too. We haven't done summarize, but we'll do that next week. And today our focus is on questions. So I have two essential questions. Are you ready? All right. The first one is, how can identifying in the book questions and in my head questions during reading help me understand a text? And a text is just the book, whatever you're reading. And how can creating my own in-the-book questions and in-my-head questions when reading help me understand a text? And we know the purpose of the whole group lesson is to introduce the entire class to the skills, the essential questions, and the target skills. And then when we go to small groups, students get what they need based off of whole group. So our phonics skill last week was what, Angelina? What is it? AW, excellent job. And what does AW say? Would you like to come up here, Carla, and tell us what AW says and why? Come on up.
AW says awful.
All right, let's do it. Awful. This week's skill is a long vowel sounds. Long vowel patterns, and I put this up here just as a review. Ost, we have most, post, old, told, sold, cold. Effective literacy instruction needs to be planned out and managed well before you do it. Yellow group, you may go ahead back. The graphic organizer I used was a PowerPoint that basically put the children in their groups and was color-coded so they knew exactly which group they were in. And it split the children up into centers, independent work, the teaching table. Now while we're reading, I want you to think of our essential question. What difference can a great idea make? Now Benjamin Franklin, we know, has a great idea, right? In his great idea, we want to find out if his great idea will make a difference. And we also have these essential questions. They're new today. How can identifying in the book questions and in my head questions during reading help me understand a text? The goal of the teacher table for all four groups was to focus on comprehension. What I wanted them to learn was how to identify in the book and in my head types of questions. We're figuring out, is it in the book or is it in my head? Will you read please for us, honey? Ben?
Ben stretched his arms and let out a yawn. Candles could be tall or short, fat or thin, and even different colors, but there was nothing fun about candles for Ben.
But there was nothing fun about candles for Ben. Why is there nothing fun about candles for Ben? Oh, I see in my head. Why did you pick in my head, Oscar?
I picked in my head because it wasn't in the book.
It wasn't in the book. It doesn't tell us why he doesn't think it's fun. So we have to use our head. So I'm going to let you make a question, and you have to decide if it's in the book or in my head, and then we're going to put it on our T-chart. All right, Andrew, what's your question? Will you read it to me?
Oh, please. Why do they make hasty pudding?
Why do they make hasty pudding? Is it in the book or in the head?
Christina, I have in my head.
So the book doesn't tell you why? You have to use your... Good job. We're going to come back to this tomorrow, and you're going to answer these. I'm not doing anything. Oh, Monday. I'm not doing anything. You're going to answer your own questions. Sound good? All right, so Andrew, will you go press the... Work is differentiated in all the stations based on what students need. There are groups of students who do go to the Fluency Center, while others have to do more of an independent type of work or do something like the memory game, so they're focusing on phonics. They need to know their expectations at the centers and what to do there. If students do not know what to do, it's going to lead to chaos.
Mushrooms help.
But it is art. At Sentence Scramble, students are asked to put sentences in order based on their academic levels. These sentences are from a previous week's lesson and skills that they've already been taught, and they put those sentences in order and also use an answer key to check their understanding.
Machines help us do many things there. Well, he needed to.
The Fluency Center has stories based on previously taught phonics skills and high-frequency words that the students have seen.
They have Ben Franklin to thank. You skipped this line. I didn't hear you say this. I did. I'm going to be model when I grow up, so.
Buddy reading is set up so that each student has a book that's based on their level. Students are more on task when they're working in a pair.
Many people use fireplaces.
The independent work for this week was based on the comprehension skill. Students had to look for in the book and in my head questions while also locating the phonics skill. Go ahead and get your book, Anna. We're going to start with our CVC blending, and we're very good at this. We're going to take a minute. Remember that if you can do it in your head, you do it in your head. Based on the achievement levels of my other group, I chose to start the lesson with a phonics review so that they could make a connection from the previous lessons taught this week.
That.
Great. Christopher?
Fat.
Okay, so we're going to be working on our long vowel sounds. And we say the vowel's name, right? Ost.
Ost.
Okay. Old.
Old.
Ild.
Ild.
Eind. So I'm going to say one, and I want you to tell me who you hear. Malik. Ost. No, just listen. Just listen. What superstar do you hear in Ost?
Oh.
We're going to be identifying in the book questions and in my head questions with a different book. We're not going to be using Benjamin Franklin. We're going to be using a book that we know, Old Joe. And in Old Joe, we have, look, all our long vowel patterns. So when you see them in this book, you should be all set. We've read this book, so now we're going to work on questions. Number one, let's read number one. Can you read it for us, Christopher?
Where does Old Joe live?
All right, Christopher, is that a question that's in the book or in your head?
Book.
Good, let's go to number two. What is Old Joe's home? I'm gonna use this. And you'll be using these soon once we get really good. It's in my head. What is Old Joe's home? You can still look in the book and read the words to help you, and then use your head to think about it. What is Old Joe's home?
Nest. A nest?
It's a nest. Look at it. The best thing about small group instruction is that I'm able to meet the needs of all students. I can actually use the time and focus on them individually. And they also get extra practice time when they're not with me. So then when they come to me, they're ready to learn. All right, we just did all our centers. Now, I know we work on essential questions a lot, and we can't forget the one that we've been working on for a couple weeks now for our whole unit. What difference can a great idea make? You don't want to forget about that when we're reading. Essential questions for today: how can identifying in the book and in my head questions during reading help me understand a text? All the groups got to do this part. Some of us used Old Joe, and some of us used Benjamin Franklin. The second essential question, which we all didn't get to do today, is how can creating means making, my own in-the-book questions and in my head questions when reading help me understand a text. Now, since you all didn't get to do that part today, I brought the blue groups work up. and they did a T-chart, and they actually created. Everyone else identified except the blue group, they created. But by the end of next week, or even the week after, hopefully, everybody will be able to create.